Hey everybody, my name is Christina. I'm 32 years old and I have PCOS. Hi, welcome back. If you were here last week, if you weren't, we'll get to that in a minute. Like I said, my name is Christina and I have PCOS. I'm going to talk to you guys. And I'm going to talk to you openly and honestly with my trusty Yeti. And for now, my Mac FaceTime contraption here until we get a better setup. But come join me in my handy, trusty office. As you can tell, I love Disney. And we're going to discuss everything and anything about PCOS. So, I just wanted to start off by saying thank you so much to everybody that responded to the video last week on Facebook. I think it's really important that we support each other and lift each other up. So many people are so awesome and just had so many encouraging things to say, and I really appreciate that because there are so many people that need to know that there are people out there who are willing to listen to them while they're struggling with PCOS emotionally and physically. And I think it's great for people to know that they are not alone, and that to me was so awesome. So I just want to say thank you. If you said something on the video last week and I didn't get a chance to respond to you, or even if you liked it, I'm so grateful for everything that you said. And I'm so grateful for the uplifting messages that you had for me and for everybody else that has PCOS. So moving forward, I wanted to just kind of give you guys an idea of what's to come with these videos. So I'm trying to put one out every week. Maybe twice a week. We'll see. It depends on how busy I am at work and home life because that kind of interferes. But I'm going to start with the process, talking about myself and then talking about PCOS. I think it's so important to educate people on what PCOS is. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse, but I think it's very important for people to understand what it is. Because openly and honestly, my own family, they have a hard time of understanding what it is. And that's part of the reason why I made these videos, is because I constantly get asked, or, people say to me, what is PCOS? Or as you can see, I have like the rock eyebrow going on the side. That one. Yeah, whatever that is. But I constantly get asked that question. And I'm just like, I keep explaining it to people. So I really, I kind of just woke up one day and I was like, I constantly have to explain what this is, so let me create a video series. So this is what this is. So I hope you'll come and join me because this is a really big thing for me to do. I feel very vulnerable, but I'm totally fine with it. I always believe in telling the truth and talking and being honest. So this is what this is. And, if you want to learn more, I'm all about you watching it. If you don't, okay, thanks for watching and I'll see you later. Or you can decide to learn more and we can be friends, and that's cool. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, we're friends or we're not friends, that's cool, whatever, it's fine. Let's kind of talk about my journey and how it started. I didn't really get to touch up on that last video. It was kind of an introductory video, so I really want to start this video about telling you how I found out that I had PCOS and where I'm going from there. Okay. So here's the story. So when I was probably a junior in college, I went to my doctor at school. I went to a pretty prestigious school in Pennsylvania. You can take your pick. I'll tell you you're right if you're right in the comments below if you feel like commenting on it. Or you could just look at my bio if it's available and you'll figure out where I went. So I went to a pretty prestigious school. Ooh, I just hit I have a diffuser in the office to make it smell nice and I just hit it. I talk with my hands, I'm Italian, it's fine. So I went to a pretty prestigious school and they had a new health center there with a doctor. So I had gone to my doctor and I had said to her, hey, my period had stopped for 3 months. Is there something that you can do to help me? And, I trusted her because she was a doctor. And she's like, oh, it's fine. This happens in a lot of women. A lot of, women in college who are under a lot of stress, they kind of just stop their menstrual cycle for about 3 months at a time. And she's like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you birth control pills and it's going to help you regulate. She didn't test me for anything else. She just said that and I said, cool, fine, because she's a doctor, she knows what she's talking about, so all right. So that began me taking the birth control pills for like the first time. And the birth control pills have hormones in it that help regulate PCOS, so you're having your period regularly. Prior to this, I had no idea that I had PCOS. I'm probably going to say that I had it at a younger age because there were all the signs there. You know, when I was younger, I went on like a really... like I had a hard time maintaining my body weight, so I went on a really, like, I was dieting like a lot and exercising a lot and just kind of, you know, drinking so much water, whatever, all that kind of stuff, and I was marking it down, and I lost a lot of weight. And so I think that kind of helped, and then when I got to college, it kind of slowed down. So I'm pretty sure that I've had PCOS like my whole entire life. So I did that, and I did that for about 10 years. Well, maybe not really. No, I didn't lose the weight for 10 years. I took the birth control pills for, it's like probably 6. No, yeah, a long time. I don't know the amount, but a long time. Up until I met my husband. And we got engaged and we were going to get married. And him and I had an honest and open discussion about how once we got married, we were going to try to start and have a family immediately. My husband and I are a few years apart, probably like 4.5, 5 to be exact. And I'm not getting any younger, and he certainly is not getting any younger. So he's not old, okay, everybody? So it was time that we had the discussion. We wanted to have them younger so that when we were older, it kind of was easier for us. And so I just kind of stopped cold turkey, you know, because you hear everybody tells you these things. Oh, I've been on my birth control pills for 10 years and I immediately stopped and I got pregnant. Cool, that's great. Oh, you'll have no problem. I stopped taking them, it's fine. Cool. So I stopped taking them. Probably about, I'm just itching my nose, people. Probably about 2 months before we got married. And nothing happened. My body, didn't have a period, whatever. And I kind of just thought it was wedding stress, so I just pushed it off. And then I noticed, like, a couple months later, I haven't had a period in a really long time. A menstrual cycle in a really long time. So I'm like, and I haven't seen my gynecologist. It's probably time for my annual, so let me go see him. So, kind of in that realm, too, I was having some, like, issues with, like, I was really sick, and, like, sweating, and, like, I thought I had a UTI and it needed to be taken care of immediately. So I went to Patients First. And they're like, we're going to run a bunch of blood tests on you, and kind of tell you what your situation is, what's going on with you, like, where your levels are at, all that kind of stuff. So they run the test, and the doctor comes back, and she's like, I said, yes. And she goes, your vitamin D levels, okay? Pay attention, people, because this is really important, kind of, sort of. Your vitamin D levels are really low. You should probably take some vitamin D. Okay, fine. Go to Target, take some vitamin D. Great. And she's like, you should probably follow up with your womanly doctor just to, figure out what this is. Okay. Is there an elevated level of concern? Is it No, just for like your next visit. Okay. That's fine. So I go to my gynecologist. I find a new one where we were living, and I say to her, I said, listen, here's the deal. My husband and I want to have kids like right away. I'm not on Clomid or any of that. I'm like, we want to try it without taking drugs. What can we do? And she's like, well, let me take your blood first. So she takes my blood, and like a couple weeks go by, and they call me back, and I'm at work. At this point, I'm working in a corporate office. And so I take the call, and they're like, hello, is this Christina so-and-so? And I said, yes. And she goes, this is the nurse calling from Dr. So-and-so's office with your lab results. hello, hi, how are you? She's like, good, how are you? She's like, good. She goes, your lab results came back, your vitamin D is low. And I said, and she was looking, it was abnormal. And I said, okay, what does that mean? And she's like, well, I can't diagnose you over the phone. I said, I don't care. I'm like, I'm at work. I'm not going to be able to get into the doctor. Could you like get the doctor on the phone or get her permission? I am your patient. I'm giving you my permission to have her speak to me because I need to know what's going on. Why is there a concern? And she goes, okay, let me get her. So she gets on the phone with me and she goes, hi, this is Dr. So-and-so. Am I speaking to Christina so-and-so? Yes. Hi, I just want to let you know that your blood work was a little bit abnormal. Your vitamin D is a little bit low. And I go, okay, what does that mean? And she's like, well, we think that you have PCOS. Well, what the heck is PCOS? She's like, it's polycystic ovarian syndrome. Okay. So I was like, can you tell me more? And she explains more to me about the abnormal hair growth, all this stuff that we're going to go over in another video. And so I pretty much found out that I had PCOS over the phone. I mean, that's partially my doing because I couldn't get to the doctor's office. But yeah, that's how I found out that I had PCOS. Okay. So then I go to the doctor's office. She's like, we're going to put you on progesterone, which if you know is a hormone kind of ish thing that, you know, you produce when you're pregnant. So it's like they want you to try to produce the cycle. So you take it for 10 days. And then after the 10th day, you kind of report to them whether or not you're bleeding. And then after that, you're supposed to see if you have a period, pretty much. That's what they're trying to see. Is when the 10 days are up, it's if you have a period or not. And if, you're going to have your cycle. Okay, cool. Hang on one second here, people. So that happens. The 10 days are up. And I have a cycle. So I start bleeding. But then after that, I have one period and it's done. Which there is a name for the abnormality of periods, which I'm going to get in just 1 second. I can't remember it. It's like abnor something. It begins with an A. But I have that as well with PCOS. So it's like a combination, but we'll get to that in a minute. So, I take that and then there's no more periods. So then we're moving on. I already know my annual comes back fine. Like, pap smear is good, whatever. Except for the PCOS. And she's like, listen, if you are really serious about having kids, your husband and you are probably going to have to do diets, whatever. So my husband and I try the low carb diet, and I lose like a lot of weight on it. It's not keto, but it's low carb, and I lose a lot of weight on it. And I have like one period out of the whole entire 6 months that I do it. But then we have to move, and it got really expensive. So having to move and it getting really expensive and eating the same stuff all the time, it's really hard for me not to swear. I have such a sailor smell sometimes. Got really frustrating for us. So then we kind of called it quits and we moved into our new apartment, and that was like the next round of doctors for me. Okay. So I have really good insurance, and I started this new job, and it's still in childcare. And mind you, my previous job was extremely stressful. I was working like 20-hour days, and it just was not healthy on my body. So even if it was possible, my body, because I have PCOS, does not respond well to stress. Which I'll talk about more. I actually, because of that, suffer from panic attacks sometimes, not always, but like once every like 5 to 10 years. But we'll get there. It's coming down the line. So that happens. So we move and I go to the doctor. This is like probably, a few inklings years later. I've tried everything. Now, within this time of my last doctor's visit and my newest doctor visit, I try everything. I try inositol, I try barbaline, myo-inositol, I'm taking thyroid, like energy pills, Pretty much every natural supplement that you can think of is what I'm taking. And I'm doing like every diet possible. My body's losing weight, but I'm not producing a period. Okay. So then we go to the next doctor. I've never met this doctor before, new insurance, new doctor. And I pretty much laid it out flat out to her. And I'm like, listen, I was diagnosed with PCOS. They gave me progesterone. I'm coming in for my annual, but I'm just letting you know beforehand that this is X, Y, and Z. Let's talk about this and then we'll follow up later. Okay. So she's like, hey, you've already told me everything. I feel like I know you already. So my gynecologist is different from my regular practicing doctor. So I've already let both of them know that I have a history of PCOS. Okay, cool. So they both order, and this was like the most miserable and stressful time of my life because I hate needles. It was horrible, but it had to be done. They literally that's not the right word. They literally signed me up for like 8 blood tests and like bruises in my veins because they were like plugging me for blood to do all these tests. I mean, they did a series of tests, glucose, cholesterol, some more glucose tests, hormone levels, something else and something else. I'll get the results for you and I'll explain what they are later. So they did all these tests. So the first round of tests is like, hey, you're normal here, but you're under here. Let's do this test. Okay, hey, this is showing this. Your hormone levels are actually normal, which is weird. But something is lower and your glucose level is really high. Okay. So then I go to my regular practicing family doctor and she gives me a checkup and she's like, I noticed, so with PCOS you have hair in abnormal places, which I do. I hate it, but whatever. It's fine. And she's like, I actually noticed now here is something you should pay attention to. As I hit the microphone, I'm going to use my body as a diagram. She's inspecting my armpits here, right? And she's like, do you have PCOS? I mean, I've told her, but she's like, are you sure you have PCOS? I said, yes. And she goes, I've actually noticed that you do. She knows because I told her, but she's like, I wanted to get a physical look at you to make sure because, we got to make sure. And she's like, this makes sense. She's like, you see these rashes underneath your armpits here, which I thought they were just like razor burn. She's like, no, those are actually glucose deposits because your body is not processing glucose the right way. Awesome. How come nobody told me this before? She's like, I'm going to get you on another blood test. They prick me for like the 10th time. It's great. So that test result comes back and she's like, hey, your glucose levels are kind of underneath being diabetic. You are pre-diabetic. Cool. I'm pre-diabetic. Awesome. She's like, go to your gyno, talk to her, and let's get you on we'll all talk together. Okay. So I go to my gyno and she's like, I see that, your practicing doctor, your family practitioner said that your glucose levels are high. You have a rash under your armpits that are deposits. She's like, and you have some unwanted hair in different places. It's definitely signs of PCOS. She's like, so I'm going to get you an ultrasound and I want to scan the lower your uterus and all that and your lining, as I point like down there, all that kind of stuff, just to see what's going on. She's like, and in the meantime, I'm going to give you progesterone. You're going to take it for 10 days, come off it, tell me how you feel. You're also going to take this medication called metformin. Metformin is commonly used for diabetes and for PCOS. It is used to help maintain the levels of your body. Now, here's the thing about metformin. Metformin can make you extremely sick, or it can work really well for you. I'm somewhere in between, and I've been somewhere in between for a long time. But here's the problem. While taking metformin, I'm on 500 milligrams. I take it twice a day. In taking metformin, I have learned that my body does not respond to metformin the way that it should. So they have to up the dosage, which we're going to get there eventually. Not right now, but we'll get there. So that we did that, and that didn't work. The progesterone seems to be helping me, but it's like you take it 10 days, you're off it. It's the worst medication of your life. Like, seriously, it gives you pregnancy symptoms, and like I just like shut down and become like a whole nother person. The feeling is definitely not excellent. I didn't like it. I felt very sluggish, very nauseous. Excuse me, clearly bloated, because that's what it does, but like just not good. But I did it. And I had my first period that I've ever had in like 6 years. So you can imagine that was a complete heyday, because it had been 6 years since my body dropped an egg. So many embarrassing things happened. So many life things that I was like, oh, I don't miss this, but I'm glad that my body is doing this type of thing happens. So that's cool. Okay. So she's like, hey, now that you're having your period, I've ordered an ultrasound for you so I can see where your body's at, kind of, and we can get a better understanding of where you need to be. All right, I'll go in for the ultrasound. So I go in for the ultrasound, and they like stick the tubes up, whatever. They do the little thing where they like monitor your, like they look for everything in your body. And she's like, hey, I can't get this like picture on your left side. Can you push down a little more? Sure. She's like, I can't get it. So I push, and it like kind of hurts. No, I've always had pain on the left side of my body. I've always thought like it was just like me ovulating or whatever. Duh, I'm stupid. That wasn't it. So I push, and she's like, can you push harder? Can you push harder? I need to see. Okay. Sure, no problem. So I was like, is everything okay? She's like, yeah, everything's fine. I just need to, get a picture for the doctor. I said, when can I expect results? 3 to 5 days. Cool. So get ready, because here's an experience. All right. So I'm working, and I've already pre-approved with my boss. Hey, can I pick? I had a refill of metformin. Can I pick this up? Yeah, sure, it's fine. So I go to pick it up, and they're like, oh, and this medication also from your gynecologist? Yeah, why not? Thinking that it was like the next step of whatever we had to do. I should say, though, before getting to this, going back on metformin, I actually found out that my father takes metformin. I think he might have some type of diabetic situation going on there, which I had no idea. I've never gone over that with my father, so I really think it's important that you know your family history. It's very important, because knowing that, it makes sense. My dad is African American. Yes, hi, hello. I'm half black and half Italian, and I'm the whitest person you'll meet in your life. It's fine. I make fun of myself all the time. It's cool. So it's common in, most African American people to have a history of diabetes. And actually, my great aunt, who was related to my grandmother, who has long passed, has MS, and she has some diabetes as well with that. So I'm not surprised that it runs in the family. I'm not surprised that I'm the one that has it, because I am on the heavier side due to my PCOS. But I never really would have thought that would have been something that I would have had. So know your family history. Go into your doctor's office and tell them everything. Pretty much is what I'm telling you. Don't keep anything from them. So I still don't know where PCOS comes from, where it runs in from family, and that's going to be another video, because I'm going to try to find out, and you're going to come with me, and it's going to be really fun. Okay, so getting back to all the journey. Okay, so I go in and I have it filled, and they're like, yeah, this is for your biopsy procedure. I said, what? Okay, just give it to me, whatever. I call my husband and I'm crying, and I'm like, and I don't really cry a lot. Like, I'm not a crier. I have to have the biopsy done. I just found out because I went to pick, I mean, I'm not crying like this, but I'm like, I just had to find out because I went to pick up my medication. I'm like so nervous. I'm so scared. Like, what if I already in my mind, I'm like, biopsy equals cancer. Because that's what you associate these things with. I've never had any kind of surgical procedure except for tubes in my ears. I'm partially deaf on my right side. It's a thing. It's fine. So yeah, so I'm like hysterically crying, and I go back to work, and I'm like, you'll never guess what happened. Guess how I found out that I have to have a biopsy done. So after that, I read the messages from my doctor, and she's like, yes, we found a polyp in your uterus on your lining that we need to take out to see if it has cancer or not, because it's been in there for more than 10 years. Now, a lot of people would associate this with endometriosis or mytriosis, which is not the case. This was something completely different. At least what was explained to me was that I had a polyp. It needed to be removed because they needed to see if there's anything cancerous in there. It wasn't endometriosis. It was some kind of just procedure. So I take this medicine, and it makes my life heck for because it opens your cervix. It's so painful, but I go in there and they take it out. They show it to me. Excuse me. And I had that procedure done in May, and it was painful. It was really painful. And in fact, sometimes even now, like when the weather's bad, like internally, like I can feel it. And it was scary because, you know, for a minute, we were not sure if I was going to have cancer or not. And I had to be faced with that. So in addition to PCOS, it was like, hey, you may have cancer. Like, that was scary. I don't care how brave you are, the potential of you, like, having cancer, that puts you in your place. Like, seriously, like, if you did not believe in God, you sure as heck are believing in God right then and there, because that puts you in your place. And it makes you step back and realize the things that you have in your life for a hot minute. And so that was really stressful for my family, my husband, people that I knew, and a lot of people are like, oh, they were reassuring and telling us it's probably nothing. But with my history of the things that I had gone through, I was worried that it could be something. So, we just constantly prayed and really went through the process of just believing that it was going to be positive, believing that it was positive. And I actually had my husband come in during the procedure. And when I say that we were being positive, not that the result was positive, we were hoping it was negative, but we just kept putting positive vibes out there because, man, that thing hurt like nobody's business. Like, seriously. Like, even thinking about it right now, painful memories. And she was like, oh, you're fine, you'll just bounce back. Nope, not me. Definitely did not happen. I did not bounce back very easily. It hurt. It's kind of serious and kind of painful. So that happened, and then we started talking about my ovaries. So here's the rundown. I have 13 microscopic cysts on my ovaries, uterus, all that area on my right side. Not as many on my left, but mostly on my right, which means that my body has not dropped 13 eggs. They're small, but they have not dropped. So pretty much what this comes down to is that the chances of me having is slim, and I'm okay with that. I've accepted that. Prior to my diagnosis, Neil and I had an open conversation. Oh, I used his name. I didn't want to, but everybody knows who it is. But Carl or Neil or my husband. Conversation about our lives, and we sat down together when he found out that I had PCOS, and it was pretty severe. And we'll get back to what I'm doing with my PCOS now in a minute. but him and I had a talk, and we talked about how, you know, we want to have children, and a number of things that would have to happen for us to have children. Obviously, he has to get tested. You know, we could potentially try Clomid again, and a lot of the other things that we talked about. And we'll get into this in later videos. I'm just going to briefly mention it now because this is part of the journey that I'm on, and I wanted to let you guys in on what's going on. We had a conversation about fostering. We had a conversation about adopting. We had a conversation about IVF. We had a conversation pretty much about everything and anything that you could possibly have a conversation about. And what it came down to was him and I are okay being him and I. You know, we're surrounded by lots of children in our lives that we are okay with it being him and I. We also know that it's possible that we could have a child if we keep praying and all that, you know, but there's other ways too. Excuse me. But for a long time, I was really angry at myself because I knew I could not have a kid. I felt guilty, extremely guilty, because as a wife, you want to be able to provide your husband with children if you want to have kids. Like, I felt really guilty, and I would cry, like, aimlessly. And to be honest with you, sometimes in the morning, like, sometimes I have, like, part of PCOS is you have a little bit of depression too. Like, you just get upset and you start crying about things. I never get to that point. I'm not depressed, but there have been moments where I've, like, wanted to cry before. Just because, like, that's part of the cycle and it's kind of imbalanced, if we're being honest. Yeah, and I felt so guilty. And I became insanely jealous of everybody else that could have children that were popping out kids like nobody's business. Because it was really hard. It was really hard. It was very hard for me to be face to face with people that were having children and were lucky enough to have a child with no problem. Like, none. Even taking natural supplements, like, no problem. Yeah. So that's, like, that was really hard for me. It was really hard. And then I talked how we're okay being hippie. And I have to tell you something, like, that takes, like, a big man to be like, hey, I love you, and it's you and I, we're a team, and we're okay. I'm okay with it being you and I, because we knew we wanted to have kids when we got married. We had that conversation. But for him to say to me, hey, it's okay, you know, that was very reassuring. And he constantly was researching things and trying to help me out with PCOS. So you know, that support system was very helpful. And, you know, again, it took me a few years to kind of just be like, I'm okay with this. Like, I understand this is the path that has been chosen for me. I get it. But it was tough. There was a lot of regret. There was a lot of remorse. There was a lot of feeling guilty. And, you know, I looked at him countless times and I would just, like, tell him, like, I'm sorry I cannot have a kid. I'm sorry I can't do that. I'm sorry I cannot be an actual woman. I'm sorry I can't give that to you. But again, we had that conversation, and that really helped me, because it helped me understand, like, it's okay. It's okay. He is reassuring me that it is okay. And that's, like, the one thing I could ever want out of somebody and out of. So it's so important to have that conversation. And, you know, it's so important to make sure that you and your spouse are on the same page, because that is something I would never have thought that I would have had to discuss with him. Okay, so we've had that conversation. Now, there are some things that I've missed in this whole entire talk, and I'm kind of going to go back to those now, because I think it's important to talk about those things. And then I'm going to talk about where I'm at right now. So Neil and I have had the conversation. We still have the conversation that, so as of today, and we'll keep going to where I'm at again, but we have had the conversation about how we are okay. And I can't tell you how much of a weight that lifted off for me, because I didn't feel the pressure or the stress from him, my partner, my husband, or guilt. And that was like the biggest thing for me, and I was holding on to that so much internally. So I just want to say to you, before we move forward with the next thing in this video, that if you are struggling with these things, it's okay to struggle with that conversation. But I also think it's important for you to have these types of discussions with your doctors and your partner to discuss what is going on, and to know that there are so many options. And we're going to get to that in a minute too. Just know that it is all right to feel guilty, to cry, to get those emotions out, and to feel. Because part of feeling really helps you to process and to be human, and that's okay. You don't have to be 100 all the time. You can be upset about it and process that. You are allowed. So allow yourself to process that, but also allow yourself to have an open conversation with your partner or your doctor about how you're feeling and what to do next. So we're in a great place now. We've been married for 6 years. We have tons of nieces and nephews, and we've just been surrounded by love with kids that love us and adore us, and it's amazing. Okay. So we're going to go back and track back a little bit. The one thing that I forgot to mention was Neil and I are Catholic, so when we got married, we had to do pre-Cana classes. So in this pre-Cana class, and this is a funny story, you have to do your basal temperature, I think, with a thermometer and track it. So you pretty much have a stranger looking at your temps or whatever. And in this process, I had an older gentleman. It was a couple, an older gentleman and his wife. They have like 6 children. It's fine. Catholic families have lots of kids. It's cool. Oops, as I hit the microphone again. Excuse me. Ooh, I'm just so excited about talking. So he comes up to me, this stranger out of nowhere, and goes, "Christina, I've noticed that your temperatures are a little high. I just wanted, you should probably see somebody about this." How am I going to tell a Catholic guy that I'm on birth control pills for PCOS? So awkward. So just to put that in there, that was awkward. So I would say in that situation, that's not the conversation that you need to have, but you definitely need to have the conversation with your partner. And if you know that you have PCOS, I think it's important to talk to whoever you're getting in a relationship with, where you are, how you feel about kids. So let me just put that out there. Okay. So that's phase 1 of the journey of how I found out that I had PCOS and where I'm at right now currently. Okay. So the next thing that I want to talk about is how I got to the point of being okay with PCOS. And again, like I said, prior to this, it took me a really long time. I had to explain it to a lot of people, and I pretty much had to tell everybody, and personally did not know. We're gonna get to that. But there are so many people and so many women. Like, I went public with it on Facebook, and so many women came back to me, and they were like older women were like, "I've had PCOS." People my age, I have had PCOS. People who I didn't think had PCOS were like, "I have PCOS." Like, it is so common. So just know that there are so many people out there that are going through the same thing that you are, and that's why I say we are a huge support system. If you need anybody to talk to, come talk to me. I will happily listen to you and happily talk, because there were people there for me when I told them that I had it. So that covers that aspect. And I was surprised that there were so many people, because I didn't realize that there were so many people. We're going to get to that in another video also. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is kind kind of the decision on how Neil and I came to decide that we were okay. So I talked about how Neil and I said we were fine with where we are. Excuse me. And that we were okay. And I'm going to talk about this more in the upcoming videos, but I just wanted to give you a preempt to it beforehand. I have seen so many success stories with IVF. So many. And I'm so happy for those people. Okay? But selfishly, and I'll go through this again, I had an honest conversation with Neil, and I said, I cannot fathom spending the money on IVF and having it fail. Because it's so expensive. I just couldn't do that. That would be a huge risk. And this is a conversation we had in the chunk when we were talking about children. That would be a huge risk. And I did not want to put us in a financial situation where we would be financially tight because my body didn't work. And selfishly, I just recently told somebody this too. I don't think I could put myself through having all those shots all the time and just shooting blanks. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that to myself. I could not put So selfishly, I could not put myself through that, and I could not put us in a financial situation where we would be screwed. I would just feel horrible. So I was not willing to put my body at risk for that. And I know that's selfish, but you know, what if my health insurance doesn't cover that? And that would be the problem for me, is my health insurance not covering it, and it's really expensive. So we had that discussion when we discussed like where we were at with like children and the process and all of that. And again, a lot of people would think that I'm being selfish about that, but I just don't know if I could do it. I don't know. Like, so much goes through my head as to how expensive it is and what they're going to tell me when I get there. You know, stuff that I already know. So that again is something that we're going to talk about more as we go through these videos, but that's just like kind of the things that we discussed when we had that conversation about how we were okay. And again, having him tell me that we were okay really helped me feel better and really assured me that, yeah, we're all right. And I think that really helped me open up more and be honest with people about it. The other thing is, my family asks me all the time, and they don't understand. They constantly were asking me when I was having children, and I got so tired of telling them that, maybe soon. Because there was a time when we were married that I didn't have my period for a while either, and I thought I was pregnant, but I wasn't. So I got so tired of them asking me, and I also got tired of having to explain to them every time what PCOS was. Every time. And them not understanding and not listening to me and not hearing me. And that made me feel like crap even more. Because I had to consistently explain to them what this was and how it affects my body, and how, yeah, you may not be getting that great grandchild or that grandkid that you wanted, or a cousin or whatever. And every time it was like pulling off a band-aid or sticking a knife in a wound that had healed. And every time, every holiday, every time I saw them, this would come up. And they all wanted to offer their advice, and I'm kind of like, no. Listen to what I am saying to you. Please hear what I am telling you. Because each time I have to open that wound, it hurts. Finally, to the point where I finally accepted it and was like, whatever, I'm just going to tell them until they're blue in the face. So that's what I'm doing. Consider this video me telling them blue to their face. So yeah, so that's, you know, and it came to a point where they kept asking, and it made me feel like crap every time they asked me, but there came a point where I just accepted it, and it would explain it to them, and I continue to explain it to them, and now it doesn't hurt as more because I have to continue to explain to them that what happens. So that's kind of, you know, where we're at right now and where I'm at. And again, I think it's important to talk open and honestly about these things because you're not alone. And there are people out there that can help you. Now, my journey is definitely not the same as everybody else's journey. And if it is similar, I'd like to hear about it. If it's not and there's different variations, I'd love to hear that too. But I think being upfront with myself and my partner and my husband and my family and having to face that truth, like honestly, having to face that truth helped me tremendously. So then after that happened, I had to educate myself some more, and I did a lot of reading, which we're going to get to. But yeah, that really helped. Excuse me, I itch my nose. I have a little bit of a cold. It's fine. And so I think what I would like for you to take away from this, and I'll probably give you more tidbits of the journey before we get into the heavy stuff, is that, you know, if you are experiencing pain, like internal pain, not internal, but like you're having thoughts that you are not good enough, that is definitely not the case. You should never feel that way about yourself. Ooh, and I'm gonna get upset about it right now. Not upset, but like cry. Because I have been there, and it's not easy, but you have control of letting yourself feel good about yourself, even though you have something that it's not cancer, but it's not curable. There's tons of drugs that they can pump you with, but it's not going to fix things. And I should say, well, I'll get to that in a second, but you are good enough. You know, you may be broken, but that doesn't mean that you can't be fixed and that you can't fix it yourself, or you can't determine for yourself how broken you are going to be. And instead of letting it knock you down every time, find something that gives you strength. Find something that gives you strength and really helps you control and determine where you're going to be on your journey with PCOS. And take charge of that and own it like a boss, literally like a boss. Because I can tell you right now, by letting that go, so much internal stress on my body was released. And I felt great about the decision to be open and honest with everybody about it. I really did. I've had countless conversations with people about it. And I've talked to strangers about it. But at the same time, I kind of feel like, you know, and we'll get to this in another video too, like, if you're upfront with somebody and you tell them everything, you know, they kind of, at that point, just kind of back off too. So we'll talk about that, but, you know, just know that by accepting it and by figuring out how you can help yourself, you will release so much internal and external stress. It's going to be a challenge emotionally, physically, and mentally, but you can do it. If I can do it, I have strength that you can do it. So in ending this video, let's talk about how I'm trying to help my body today. And the things that you can try to do to help yourself. Okay. So here's the thing. You take a multivitamin every day. I take 2 pre and probiotics a day. This is the list of things that go on and on. I take, if you go on Facebook, there's a picture of how many pills I take. I take cranberry, I take turmeric, I take cinnamon, I take a thyroid pill, I take apple cider vinegar, I take fish oil, and that's pretty much it. So there's 9 pills that I take. And this is just, and my metformin, so that's 10. But we already knew that I take metformin. These are just things that I take to help regulate my body. But I don't know if it's gonna, like, pills are not gonna help, you know. But I'm taking them to get my body, at least my PCOS, in control and keep it in check. So again, if you have any questions about that kind of stuff, just let me know and I'll be happy to answer it for you. But just know that there's a lot that I take. The other thing that Neil and I are doing together is we've started doing Weight Watchers, which, like, diets are diets, and my feelings on diets are, like, I don't like them, and I'll talk about diets later on, but, like, I just don't like them. So I need to find something that's going to be helpful where I can eat what I want to eat, and I think this is one of them. So yes, so that's kind of what we started doing, and, you know, I'm excited about it. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see. But I'm not doing, like, I'm taking my 10 pills for my PCOS, but I'm not doing Weight Watchers just for my PCOS. I'm doing it because Neil and I want to support each other and try to get healthy, which is awesome. I can tell you this much: no matter what I've done, no matter how much I've talked to him about PCOS, he has always been there for me, and I think that's so important. So the other thing I'm going to say is, find somebody that's going to be supportive of you and that you can talk to while you're going through this process, because it's hard. It's really hard. But when you find that person that you can talk to, it's definitely helpful. It's probably better than therapy. And I suggest that if you can't find that person, maybe you look into seeing a therapist. Like, there's nothing wrong in seeing a therapist. You know, it doesn't make you crazy. Talk to people. I've definitely noticed that. And I can tell you, like, by doing that, I used to be, and a lot of people might not know this about me, because I seem like a really nice person, but I definitely had, like, an anger problem for a long time. And I was very moody, which is part of PCOS, as you know. But I feel like after discussing it, even with you guys now, like, all of that kind of went away and released. And even taking the vitamins and medication that I am now, it's definitely helped temper my moods. But I still suffer a little bit as I hit the microphone, because this, actually, to be honest, so I still suffer kind of from, like, panic attacks a little bit and a little bit of anxiety, but it's getting better. And that's kind of, anxiety has something to do with it. But I can tell you that the level of anxiety and the level of panic has definitely been going down, which is good. So, you know, again, I can't stress enough. Just know that you're not alone. There's so many people going through something or this. And, you know, if you don't have PCOS, be mindful to people that do have it, because it is a sensitive subject. If you do have PCOS, find that way to be better than that. Find that way to be better than making it a weakness. Find a way to make it a strength. I can tell you, for me, my strength is by being able to talk to you guys and being able to talk about it openly. So it's so much better. It just makes you feel so much better. So I think overall, in summing up where I'm at on this journey, I think I'm definitely, you know, from where I started to where I am now, I think I know a lot more. I have a lot of information. My next doctor's appointment is coming up soon, so I'll be able to update you guys on that soon. But I think I've come a long way, and that's all I can hope for you guys, is that you come a long way from where you started to where you're at now. With that being said, I kind of want to set up what the next couple videos are going to be. I'm going to educate you on PCOS like nobody's business. I'm also going to talk about every type of symptom, every type of whatever there is. So if you are willing to become educated on something that you don't know about, please watch. If you're not, again, that's fine. I get it. But I think it's really important for you to know. If you think you may have PCOS, this is going to be a great educational segment for you. If you have it and there are things that you didn't know, this is the video for you. So I'm really excited about that. I hope you kind of understood where I was going with the rambling, but you know, the stories are all over the place because that's my life. This is life. That's life. But I hope you took something away from hearing about my experiences and how I found out that I was diagnosed. If you have PCOS and you want to share your story, feel free to comment somewhere or contact me via this. I think this video is going to go up on Facebook. I'm going to work on getting it on YouTube at some point. I don't know. We'll see. But if you would like to share your story with me, I would love to hear it. You can reach out to me on Facebook via Facebook Messenger if you don't want it to be known publicly. Well, it's private for friends, but you know, in the comments everybody sees everything. Or you can comment below or something. I would really love to hear where you're at, if you need a helping hand, if you're struggling, or if you've overcome something, or just anywhere. Anywhere you are in that realm of things. And just know, I'm always here. I'm always listening, and I will always be available for you to talk to. Okay? We are a huge support system, and there are about 10 million plus of us that have this, and it's up to us to overcome this. So, with that being said, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this long video about my journey with PCOS, and I hope you really took something away from it. Alright guys, it was really fun talking to you. I'll talk to you in maybe a couple days or a week. I'll see you soon. Bye! Hey, it's me again. So I know you just watched that really long video about me and my journey on PCOS, but I did forget to add 2 important things. Okay, the first one is that I know I told you guys that I was on progesterone and I had a period, whatever. So after progesterone, I did not have any cycle. Like, I had that one cycle, but then that was it. I didn't have anything else. So that's why they put, you know, we were on metformin, and they said that we had to up the dosage. We haven't done that yet. That's the next step, but nothing has really changed for me being on metformin now. So I feel like that's something that was vital information that I left out, that I should let you guys know. But metformin is definitely really common with PCOS, as I mentioned before. So consider this like the post credits, I guess. But I just wanted to let you guys know that that was something that I felt like I needed to relay to you, that I did not, and I was not clear about that. So, alright. The video is finally over. I will see you next week for a brand new topic about PCOS. Bye!